All right, we are on with Deacon Kevin Sartorius with the Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma, the folks, and one of the only two agencies, the other one being Catholic Charities of Oklahoma City, that actually work hand in hand with the federal government on refugee resettlement here in the state of Oklahoma. And obviously, there's been a lot of news about 1,800 or so Afghan refugees coming to Oklahoma. My understanding is the first family that is coming arrived in Oklahoma City a couple days ago. I guess the first question for you, Deacon, is have we got any word yet on when folks will start arriving in Tulsa? I know there was a delay because of a measles outbreak.
Yeah, the measles outbreak kind of pushed everything back a few weeks, and so we know October is going to be huge. But we have an arrival tonight and an arrival on Saturday, and that will be kind of a test run for us because they're very small numbers. I think it's 4 people total in the 2 days, but we have, and they're small groupings. We've gotten these assurances for others without any flight times, and they're pretty large families. I mean, we have some 9 and 11 person families on our list. So this will be good. It'll be a great little practice run for us to arrive those first families, and we'll be able to share those experiences with people next week, I'm sure.
Now, I know in Oklahoma City, it wasn't just Catholic Charities that met them at the airport. There were other organizations and other folks involved, and I know for a fact you guys are working with other nonprofits and with individuals who are trying to work with these guys and welcome them to Tulsa and help them start a new home. Is there a plan for what happens when they arrive?
Yeah, so when folks come in, we've been working, we've been blessed actually to have a little bit of extra time to get organized, and we've been blessed to have others join us in this. So one of the first things that will happen when someone comes in is that they'll be greeted by folks, really volunteers from South Tulsa Baptist. They called us and said they wanted to do something and prepare apartments and this and that. Well, it's just grown. They really have gotten involved, and they deserve credit for that welcoming arrival component. Will involve some packets of necessary items for the families. If there's children, some items that the children can have to make them feel comfortable on their first day, whether it be a little bear or a coloring book. And then the Islamic Society is making a hot meal for them to present to them really as soon as they get off the airplane, so that this act of hospitality in their mind of providing a hot meal and sharing that meal with them, so that they immediately see someone who speaks the same language and understands their culture and so forth. That's really kind of where we're focused on the arrival component, welcoming them, helping them to see that we care for them and that we'll provide for them. Then they'll go on to a hotel for a little bit of time. Hilti has given us 5 12-passenger vans that we can use to transport people. Maybe a little overkill on this first arrival or the second one, but it'll very quickly be a necessary element. So we'll drive them in these vans that Hilti's let us borrow, and we'll have some translators in the vans for the family. Get them into a nice warm bed with a hot shower. I know that they've been staying kind of almost in tents. I know they're air-conditioned tents and they're kind of cordoned off. They're probably pretty nice from a camping perspective, but not from a long-term living assignment for the last month on these bases.
Do you get any information ahead of time about what language they speak? Because there are several in Afghanistan. In fact, you mentioned that the last time we spoke. And how is that going as far as finding translators?
Yeah, we've gotten some good response. We probably have 24 translators right now that are going to be, I think, really active and probably long term. That'll keep us from having to hire someone, I think, off the bat, because we've got great volunteer support. Farsi is the most prominent volunteer base, because there's like anyone that's from Iran would speak Farsi. A lot of Middle Easterners speak Farsi, even if it's not their primary language. It's kind of like, English is pretty commonly known, so is Farsi. The second in Dari, I guess, is like a dialect of Farsi. They're almost the same. I'm kind of over my head in terms of being the expert on this. And then Pashto is the third. And we've gotten a good mix of all three of those. We don't know, walking in the door, we have their name, we have their age, we have their gender. If they have any kind of immediate health need, that's usually notated, but we don't even exactly know what their primary language is going to be. And again, Russell, I think they're going to have someone there who speaks English from the family because they've worked with the U.S. government. And it might not be English, but it'll probably be passable for the first few days.
Excellent. All right. So you said the first family, and it sounds like it's a couple, arrives tonight.
Yeah, so we have folks coming in this evening and then tomorrow evening. And it's actually one and I think three, one tonight and three tomorrow. And then after that, it gets more intense. But I think we've got another week or two before it really goes hot and heavy in terms of the arrivals.
And then again, that's at least partially due to the fact that some of these folks, there was a couple measles cases as they were bringing people out. They diagnosed a couple of them with measles, and that was like, oh, quarantine time.
Yeah, let's put the brakes on this.
Yeah. They probably don't have a great vaccination program in Afghanistan. Not surprising. So, they got them squared away as far as I know. They just have to watch them for a couple of weeks, make sure there's no additional cases, and then they can start reselling them. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's right. And so I think there's two things I'd say about that. One is that the system appears to be working. People in the United States have a natural and healthy concern that folks who enter our country are the right kind of people, right? And so they want them to be healthy and they want them not to be a security threat. That's the federal government's job. And this is a visible indication that when they saw symptoms of measles, they checked into that. They said, we need to take this entire population and give them this care. And we're going to hold them back until they're ready to be put out into the community. So for folks who might have a question as to whether or not the government's just having them leave Afghanistan and come straight into Tulsa, well, this pause and this healthcare need is a visible sign that the federal government is doing screening, health screening, security screening, taking care of people and making sure that they're safe to come into our community. And I think that should give us some confidence. Now, the follow-up on the healthcare, the second part of, I guess, my response to your comment would be that we have a lot of healthcare entities here in Tulsa who also have stepped up and said they want to help. I have been on the phone with St. Francis Health System for weeks and weeks. I have a call with St. John Health System on Monday. I've spoken with folks at OSU Medical Center. I was in a meeting recently with In His Image, which is a medical training program. And all of these guys really have said, we really want to step up. Community Health Connection over at 3rd and Lewis, they also called primarily on, I think, dental and some things of that nature. So it's a whole community that's rallying around the needs of these folks and welcoming them and helping prepare them to be successful.
So, I have to ask this question, and I'm hesitant to even do it, but it's out there. There are people who are griping about this and saying, we don't want those people here, or why are we helping them when there's Americans still stuck in Afghanistan? And I mean, there is always going to be that attitude in a certain segment of the population, but are you really hearing much of that? Or does that seem like you're fighting some headwinds, or is that just grousing in the back row?
Well, there's always going to be a diversity of opinions in America, and I think that's part of what makes us strong. And so I don't mind us having that conversation. And I think it'll make Catholic Charities a sharp organization in terms of its service delivery if we know people are watching us. But I would say it's probably 10,000 to 1. We have people coming out of the woodworks to provide support, and that support could be anything from furnishings to apartments to healthcare, whatever. And then every now and then we'll have someone say, hey, can I pull you aside and ask you some questions because I'm a little nervous about this. I love that opportunity because it allows us to clear up any kind of mystery that's out there. Also, they might ask a question that we haven't thought of, and it's something that we need to go and figure it out and make sure that we're ready for it. So if they're trolling, if you have somebody who's out there who's just like bent on making trouble, everybody's got a hobby. Let them have their hobby. If they're asking a really strong question, I welcome that, and usually we can have a great conversation and grow closer together because of it.
I'm curious, and I know you weren't around 50 years ago, or more than 50 years now, when Catholic Charities started all this, but over the years, I would imagine as different waves of refugees came to the United States, you had similar responses from some people. There, we're always going to have the know nothings and the folks that are isolationist and they want to shut the borders and et cetera. So I would imagine you've had these issues before. Is it more so that this time around, or about the same as usual, or do you even?
Yeah, I've been here since 2004 and at Catholic Charities, and I've seen a little bit of that. But the Catholic response to this question is really twofold. One is that a country has a right to maintain its border from a security standpoint. So whether it be the United States or Italy or Afghanistan for that matter, every country has a right or even a responsibility to protect its citizens and to manage its border. And so that's the first part of Catholic teaching. The second part, though, is once that has been accomplished, we're called to serve our neighbor in need. We're called to reach out and to help people who really have no way to help themselves. If you're a young family, if my wife and 7 kids were in Afghanistan and we were stuck over there, and I wanted to raise my children in peace and give them a good education and put food on the table, but I'm going to be persecuted for whatever reason, I would hope and pray that somebody would reach out to me and help me. And that's what we're called to do as Americans. I mean, this is the greatest nation really in the history of the world. And if anyone can secure their border, we should be able to do that. And we have a right to do that in Catholic teaching. But also, if anyone has the ability to reach out and help others who are in need, it is the United States of America. And we have done that for hundreds of years. And we should continue to do that for hundreds of years. And it's just a matter of us then having the guts to do it. In this generation, we did it for the East. We did it after World War II when people had to flee persecution. We've done it all through our history. Are we going to stand up and do our part now? That's the big question.
Well, and I think you guys are answering that question with a yep, we are, because we're getting lots and lots of folks that are calling and asking how they can help. What can they do? Can they volunteer? So that's good. That heartens me that overall what I'm hearing from you is the response has been very positive from most people. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, very positive from 99.5%. And I would say that the other portion, what I have seen is people who have good, healthy questions to ask. And there's been maybe 1 or 2 people who have just been incensed.
Including the chairman of the state Republican Party. So, not to name names, but I'll go ahead and do it, John Bennett. But he's got a long history of being Islamophobic. So I don't think that surprised anyone. But I've heard others, including, I believe, Senator Langford. I'll withdraw that. I'm not sure if he's commented one way or the other, but I believe Governor Stitt has, and he's like, yeah, let's help him out.
We've been on calls with Senator Langford's office and with Governor Stitt and Mayor Bynum, and they're all very much in favor of this. We have seen some comments from a few who have these concerns, or maybe just have outright opposition. And again, I would say I want our soldiers to protect the right for them to have that opposition. I want to give them space in our culture to have that opposition. But by and large, I know that the people will stand up and speak that we can welcome these people and we want to. And so let the minority be the minority. Let's not get too bothered by them. But also let's make our own decision as a community. And what they have, I mean, the community has spoken, and it's loud and clear.
Outstanding. Well, Deacon, I know you're busy and probably tired from your trip, so I'm going to try to be merciful here and wrap it up. Anything else that you'd like to add before we go?
Just that we're entering into the exciting phase. So the planning is pretty well complete, and now it's about implementation. The first days, I would say, are going to be a honeymoon. We're going to see flag waving and people smiling, and folks coming in, maybe even crying that they've made it to their final destination. And that's going to be beautiful to watch. But then this is a sustained effort. This will take probably, a year or two. And at some point, that honeymoon kind of starts to fall off a little bit. And, you might find that somebody parks in the handicap spot that looks like they're from Afghanistan. And instead of running up there and shaking your finger at them, run up there and say, God bless you for being here. This is what that parking space is for. It's going to take a long-term education and integration and understanding. And I think we can live right now being happy with the planning. We can be ready for this great honeymoon phase, but there's more to come, and it'll take us all working together to get them there.
It truly will. Well, listen, I've got all kinds of more questions, but I told you I'd try to be merciful, so I'll let you go. Thank you very much. Let's talk again soon. Yes.
All right. I love it, Russell. Anytime you want to.
All right. So thank you very much, and thanks, Deb, for setting it up.
Good deal.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.